Hey guys, it's CWillyHD here, and welcome to this pretty special video. This time I wanted to take a step back and recap 2019 with all the glitches I've covered in the past year. We did a lot of crazy glitches, so I think it'd be neat to go back and have another look at them. So without further ado, here are the top 10 glitches I did in 2019. This past summer, I did a big Super Mario Sunshine series covering a pretty good amount of the glitches found in the game so far. So it makes sense that some of them have to be pretty good. With that being said, first up on the list is getting out of bounds with a lily pad in Bianco Hills. Doing so allows you to explore the level in all new angles and get extremely far outside the traditional boundaries. To do this, get on one in the lake and bring it over to this side with the little ledge. You'll notice the lily pad begins to clip through already, but in order to get it fully out of bounds, we need a pond skater to help. Lure one over to the lily pad and have him collide into it. It gets stuck on it, and here comes the fun part. We have to spray the skeeter to keep it here and push us back into the wall. We also need to ground pound a few times to help the lily pad bounce up and down, which will help it clip out of bounds. After a few minutes of attempts, I finally got it out. From this point, you're almost home free. We now need to get out of bounds ourselves, so head over to this hillside and spin jump at the spot in the cliff. After you clip through, you need to hover over to the lake and reach the water. You don't have to land right on the lily pad, just get close enough so you land in the water and swim over to it. Find the pad, hop on, and boom, you're done. You're basically now able to do whatever you want and just float around anywhere out of bounds. Since we're on a lily pad, the game just assumes we're in water and ignores the fact that we're basically on a magic carpet now. I originally thought I'd be stuck in the blue void, but there's a lot to see. You can go all the way around the level to the other side of the river and get a complete view of Isle Delfino. I don't know why, but this looks so cool to me. You can also head to the left and fly above a very low poly version of Rico Harbor. Sometimes you're able to see this from outside the level, but the game devs never anticipated you getting this close. This was my favorite result of doing this glitch. You have to make sure you don't go too far past the level boundaries or you will get kicked off the lily pad, shoot straight down, and die. Overall though, this glitch has become one of my favorites in the game and allows you to see Bianco Hills from angles I never thought I could. Next up is from Pokemon X and Y. It allows you to use held items multiple times every turn. We're going to need a Pokemon that has the ability Symbiosis like Floetta holding leftovers, and another Pokemon that's holding an eject button, so any will work here. Head into a double battle with these two Pokemon in the first two slots and throw them out. We want to have our eject button Pokemon take damage so the item activates, which will cause Floetta's Symbiosis to pass the leftovers to the Pokemon who's getting swapped out. And now we have the glitch activated, but to see it in effect we need to throw out another Pokemon due to the eject button and then swap back into it. With the Pokemon back out, the newly received leftovers will activate not just once, but 4 times. This means the Pokemon will get healed an extra 3 times every single turn. It's kinda a strange sequence as the animation of the item actually being used happens on the first and third times, but each time it's healed and the message will still show up. This glitch state will last the entire battle or until the Pokemon is knocked out, which might be kinda hard as it's recovering so much HP every turn. As if this glitch wasn't broken enough, basically any item can be used in place of the leftovers and have increased effects. For example, if you hold a life orb, it'll double the damage but also double the HP you lose. Another is any choice item like Choice Band, which will double as well. So the possibilities are kinda endless with this glitch. If you'd like to read a full list of all the items and what changes with them, I'll leave a link in the description below. Switching over to the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Switch Remake, we have a glitch that you can get out of bounds using a rooster. For some reason the rooster is very broken in this game, so you have to have completed Dungeon 8 to get the Frog's Song of Soul. Once you have it, head back to Mabe Village and receive it. Head over to the ladder in front of Mount Tema Ranch. Throw the rooster off the top of the ladder so it climbs back up. As it's doing this, hop onto the ladder and have Link's hand positioned here just below this wooden plank. With the rooster just on top of the ladder and Link here, we're in position to start the glitch. Use Rock's Feather and just tap up on the control stick. This will place Link at the very edge of the ladder. From here, walk to the left corner of it, face the rooster, and pick it up. It might not seem like anything happened, but we just activated a glitch known as no clip. We need to fly into the wall for a few seconds in order to avoid getting warped back to the ladder. After that's over, you're able to just fly around passing through most walls in collision. You just gotta be careful as you might void back if you go too far into certain walls. One cool thing you can do with this is head up and to the left, try and avoid getting hit by the falling boulders, and once you reach this spot, Link will begin sinking into the ground. Hold up for a few seconds and then throw the rooster. You're now out of bounds on top of the mountain. There's nothing really extra you can do with the rooster while you're out here, but it's just cool to see. Going to this ladder in Martha's Bay, we can do something really broken. It can be harder to set this glitch up here as if you throw the rooster off the ladder and into the water, it doesn't just climb back up. You gotta throw him near the ladder and then push it as close as you can. It's okay if he's flapping above the ground too. I was able to do the glitch again, pick it up, and Link immediately sunk into the ground. However, the top part of the rooster's model was still above land, so I was able to fly around in this funny looking state. I eventually got stuck up in this area, but after accidentally taking damage from this bomb, I dropped even further into the ground, allowing me to explore even more. The camera was really zoomed in, so I got to see all the textures in really good detail. And it gave me some cool cinematic shots of the camera just panning over the map. As far as I could tell, I could fly anywhere I wanted to, so I went all the way off the map to the right until Link was all the way off the map. Since I was flying with the rooster, the game never voided me back to the ladder, so I was able to fly as long as I wanted. I held right for a couple minutes, but nothing really happened. So I gave up, threw the rooster, and it caused me to void back to the ladder. There aren't too many ladders to use this glitch on though. The other ones will work and allow you to clip into things, but they'll just void you back after a few seconds. This is still a really fun glitch to mess around with though. Coming in at number 7 is duplicating items in Minecraft. I did this glitch on the Bedrock Nintendo Switch version, by the way. All you need for this is a sticky piston, a chest, and a button. Place the chest on top of the piston like this and the button here. Once it looks like this, you're ready to roll. Grab whatever item you want to duplicate and place it in the top left corner of the chest. Press the button to activate the piston and open the chest. Press any direction on the D-pad to hover over the item, and right as the piston's about to drop back down, quick move the item to your inventory. If done correctly, the item will now be in the chest and in your inventory, successfully duplicating the item. You do have to be pretty quick and the timing is very precise, so here's the glitch again in real time. You can repeat this process as many times as you'd like and with any item. For example, equipment like a pickaxe, armor like elytra, and probably the best, a shulker box. You can place a whole bunch of items in one and then duplicate it to double everything along with the shulker box. Like I said before, you have to get the timing of quick moving the item perfectly. You only have a few frames to get it. If you press too early, the item will just end up in your inventory, and if you do it too late, the chest will close and not move it down to your inventory. The reason this happens is because when the piston moves the chest back down, it kicks you out, but if you quick move the item as it's closing, it transfers the item to your inventory, but isn't able to remove the one from the chest, so it duplicates as a result. I use this glitch a lot to dupe stacks of blocks and items all while in survival mode, so definitely give it a shot. Next up is a pretty big one in Yooka-Laylee. It allows you to skip past the 100 PAGIE door and head right for the boss. Normally you can't access the elevator until you collect 100 PAGIEs, but let's avoid actually doing that. Head outside Hivory Towers toward Capital Casino. Down in this corner there's some toxic water, but we're going to use it to get out of bounds. Jump and perform a buddy slam at this part of the wall. You'll take damage, and while this is going on, jump out and do it again while moving towards the wall. You'll clip through and now be on the other side. You don't take damage while out here, so carefully maneuver over to this beam and double jump. You're now back on solid ground out of bounds. While there are a few things you can do out here, we're going to head for the capital B fight first. So use Flappy Flight and head this way. It's a pretty simple path to the door, just head this way and underneath the toxic river. Once on the other side, you should see the elevator, so fly in that direction and be careful not to come up too early as you can clip back in bounds. Once you're directly underneath it, flap on up and into the cutscene. And there you go, you can now beat the game earlier than intended. Just a few quick tips, this patch of water out here is really small, so if you go too far, you'll just fall to your death. Like I said before, you can clip back through the world if you come up too early, which means you have to start the glitch all over again. Anyway, I wanted to see what else you could do with this glitch, so I did some exploring. First I tried landing on what looked like regular ground, but it was actually by the toxic lake, so I died almost immediately due to the death barrier. In my next attempt, I headed for this tank looking thing. It took me a second to realize, but I was actually underneath the entrance to Galleon Galaxy. I took flight again and went up. I kept taking damage, but after some mashing, I managed to clip back into the room. I tried the same thing again, and this time stayed in the middle. I flew right into the book, and it took me right into the level. So as you can see, getting out of bounds using this opens up a lot of possibilities. It's also just neat to fly around and explore this section of the game from a new angle. Back to Super Mario Sunshine, this time in Pinna Park. We can do some crazy things with a glitched bomb. We need to revisit episode 2 after unlocking Yoshi. Once on him, head for the cannon. Notice how Monty Mole only throws 4 bombs before one blows up, but we can force him to throw 5. After he throws the 4th, quickly spray them all with Yoshi to create 4 platforms. These are technically still stored in the game as bombs, but Monty Mole gets confused and throws another one. Dismount Yoshi and try and spray the 5th and pick it up. This can be kinda tricky as it just despawns a few seconds later. Once you pick it up, you'll immediately notice things are a little off. Mario's now holding a pretty glitched bomb that causes him to randomly shift around while walking, jumping, and even just standing. You can pull off some pretty crazy jumps, and this alone is pretty cool. You can hold the bomb as long as you want, just make sure not to land in the water or it will explode. We can take this glitch a step further though if you triple jump. Mario will just continue to hop up even though there's no ground below him. You don't have to press any buttons anymore either, Mario will just keep jumping non-stop. You can get as high as you want and get a pretty cool view of the level. You can even get high enough that Al Delfino completely disappears. Once you're content with Mario's height, you can simply press B to throw the bomb and he'll begin falling. It might take a while if you were jumping for a long time, but it gives you another chance to take in the view. When I was close to the ground, I noticed these bullet bills were glitching out too. But once you land back in Pinna Park, everything will be back to normal. This is definitely my favorite glitch in this level and probably one of the best in the game. The movement on the ground alone is fun enough, and getting all the height is a nice bonus. It kinda reminds me of the bomb glitch from Super Mario 64, the way that it moves while jumping around. Next up, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and the bullet time bounce. By using a shield, a bow, and a bokoblin, we can get sent into the sky. You can achieve this pretty much anywhere there's one of these guys. All you need to do is be above one, jump off into a shield surf, then as you're about to land on the bokoblin's head, pull out your bow to activate bullet time. If the lineup was good, you'll bounce off and get sent flying into the air. You're able to pull out the glider shortly after so you won't take any fall damage. You can reach new heights and speeds using this glitch. Depending on where you land on the head, you'll get shot in different directions. I enjoy doing this glitch solely for the views alone. You can cover pretty big chunks of the map easily if you get the right timing and angle. I did this glitch plenty of times and got plenty of amazing results. The sky's not even the limit for this glitch and it's not too difficult, so it's definitely worth your time. Moving over to Undertale and the punch card skip. It can be used to skip a lot of cutscenes and events throughout the second half of the game. So as you might already be able to tell, it's pretty broken and useful. It's not too hard either, you just need to trigger an event and activate the punch card at the same time. For most of the situations, you can just press the direction you need to go and see at the same time. When you close out of the punch card, you'll be able to freely walk around and head to the next area, leaving whatever was supposed to be going on behind you. In my full Undertale video, I showcased about 20 locations you can do this glitch in. I'm not going to be covering all of those again, but if these do interest you, I'd recommend watching it to see the rest. Okay, so up first is this section with the Undyne Spear chase scene. When you're in this room, look at the platform below you. You notice those darker lines? We need to be focusing on the 6th one from the left, so walk forward and when it's close to getting off screen, stop and slowly creep forward so it's about here. We need to press right and open the menu at the same time. If Frisk moved forward and the bottom platform looks like this, you should be good. If we were to close the menu right now, the cutscene would trigger. Instead, go into your items and use the punch card. Close out of it and you can begin running without having to wait for Undyne to throw the spears. This will give you a little head start, but the screen will eventually skip forward and Undyne will be back on your tail. Like I said before, most skips we do with the punch card follows this method of moving and opening the menu at the same time, so I'll be moving a little quicker for the rest of them. When you reach this area with the royal guards, we can skip that fight entirely. Stand here, walk forward, and open your menu all at the same time. Even though they're telling us to stop, we don't have to and we can continue walking. A neat side effect of doing this glitch is when you get up here and skip through Alphys' text, you'll have a burst of speed for no real reason. And finally, skipping past Sans. Walk down the hall and once you reach these two columns side by side, stand here and step into the tile while opening the menu. Use the punch card, close out of it, and then walk forward. You can walk right past Sans while he just looks at you. Right when the screen's about to stop scrolling, hold up and you'll go right into the door. This was just 3 out of the 17 I showed off in the video, but this segment would be 10 minutes long if I covered them all again. But there are plenty more crazy things you can pull off with this, so I'd recommend checking it out. Next up is a glitch in the new Pokemon Sword and Shield and allows you to get out of bounds. There's a berry tree on Route 3 that we can use to clip out from. But before we do that, you're going to need to change the date a few times. In order to do that, you're going to have to connect to the internet and enter a ranked battle. So head into the Versus tab on your menu and select Battle Stadium. It doesn't matter if you actually win or lose this battle, so I'd recommend just finding an opponent and then choosing Run to end the battle as soon as possible. After that, you're free to back out of all the menus and change the date as many times as you'd like. We needed to do this for a reason you'll see in a second. Back on Route 3, find this berry tree and bike as close as you can to it and the wall. Once it looks like this, press A and begin to shake the tree. You want to encounter a Pokemon that'll drop down after you shake it a bunch, so keep pressing A until that happens. Once it does, you can run away from the battle. After picking up whatever berries are left over, you'll hop back on your bike with the front tire slightly in the tree. This is what we want as you're now able to gently move inside of it. Maneuver yourself so you're facing perpendicular to the wall behind you. We need to encounter another Pokemon, but there are no berries on the tree, and this is where changing the date comes into play. Press the home button on your controller and go down to System Settings. Scroll all the way down to the bottom for System and then a little more for Date and Time. If your clock is synced to the internet, just turn it off and then change your date 1 day forward. Now you can go back to the game, and the berries will be on the tree again. Staying on your bike, press A to begin shaking, and if you see your character shift back into the wall, you're on the right track. Encounter a Pokemon and run from it again. After hopping back on your bike and a little more wiggling, you should pop back through the wall and out of bounds. You're now free to explore this entire route from new angles and elevations. You can access the other half of the route by going over this ledge and going across the seam of it. Obviously the collision isn't perfect out here, so you're going to be able to see underneath the level and through some of the ground. But there's actually some more you can do with this glitch. By using this ledge, your character will begin to glitch out a lot. If you position yourself in the middle of it and begin tapping left on the control stick repeatedly, you'll begin to slowly fly up into the air. It's important that it's almost perfectly left or you'll shoot back down to the floor, having to start all over again. We want to get up really high using this glitch, and you'll see why in a second. But this way it can be kind of difficult, so let's do an easier method. Fly up a little ways and then get off your bike. This will store whatever height you had and you can run around freely. Hop back on your bike and push yourself up against the front wall. You can now just tap down repeatedly and begin to slowly rise up again. This time you have a lot more leeway with the direction, so you don't have to worry about falling back down unless you really mess up the angle. But anyway, you'll be able to go up and up until you eventually pop through and land on the ceiling of collision. You can keep going down until the entire route disappears, or you can head right and enter Motostoke. You want to make sure you stay away from the actual areas you can walk on, or you'll shoot back down. Still technically out of bounds, but you'll lose all your height. Seeing the city from this way is extremely cool. If you ride down and to the right far enough, you'll be able to get to the other side of the city. You can keep going right and reach the Motostoke outskirts along with a really low quality version of the wild area. I'm really glad you have the ability to see all of this, as Route 3, Motostoke, and the outskirts are all connected. You can get some amazing views from up here, so I'd recommend trying it out for yourself. And coming in at number 1 is the ONETT barrier skip. This allows you to skip past the first main section of EarthBound and reach Tucson, the second area, a lot faster. It involves a lot of RNG manipulation, which may sound daunting, but I promise you it's not too difficult. By doing a specific set of movements and inputs, you can force one of the barriers to load somewhere else and walk right past it to Tucson. So after doing the beginning section of the game with the meteorite and buzz, you can head into ONETT. You can pretty much do this glitch right away if you want, so head into the hotel and save your game. After selecting record while talking to your dad, reset the console. This glitch isn't too long or difficult, it's just a lot to do in a short amount of time, so I'm going to show the glitch in real time and then break it down after. So after the reset, load the game and follow along. So basically what we just did is turn the truck sprite into the barrier, allowing us to walk right past the other 3 with no problems at all. I'm going to break down what I just did so you guys can pull off the glitch too. Starting off, we reset the console in order to reset the game's RNG values to a default state, so we can manipulate them for reasons you'll see in a minute. Upon loading your game, head for the door. As the transition is happening, I'd recommend holding down right and mashing the A button. We need to open the menu and select the talk to option as soon as we take control of Ness. Then after closing the text box, we want to walk down and to the right to this fence. You need to wait here for a second for the taxi to go off screen and then begin walking straight down until you meet up with the sidewalk. Guide Ness along this, and once you reach the corner, click A and then B really fast and continue following the sidewalk. Once Ness is on the edge of this tree, click A, up, and then A again. This will select the check option. It's important that you press up instead of down twice to use the check, as cursor movements will affect the RNG values and the glitch won't work. Anyway, after closing that text box, continue walking. If the game begins to slow down, you're on the right track, as a bunch of sprites are being loaded on the screen. Once you reach the edge of the tree, press A twice to talk to nothing. Continue walking again, and once you reach this tree, begin walking down. You'll end up seeing the truck transform into the barrier magically, and now the barrier can't load in the correct spot, so you can walk right past it. So what's actually happening here? Well, EarthBound has a sprite table that loads sprites into locations where Ness is at, but the game can only handle 22 sprites loaded in memory at a time, so it can only have 10 enemies on screen to prevent you from overloading this table. But by doing these particular movements and inputs, you can cause a lot of enemies to spawn, the barriers, and cops along with that truck. When we get down to the arcade area, the truck loads into memory slot 0. It then loads a bunch of enemies due to the RNG values, you can tell because the game slows down a lot. So by the time you're here, there's only 5 sprite slots left in memory that the game can handle. Even though it doesn't look like there's 17 sprites on screen, there's some loaded off screen but still in memory. So when we begin to walk down, the game tries to load 6 more sprites, which are the 2 cops and the 4 barriers. But it can't load the last barrier due to the number of sprites in memory, so it overrides the first, which is the truck, but it keeps the same location. That's why the truck just randomly transforms into a barrier and doesn't appear in the correct spot. So now we've skipped all of ONETT's part of the story and you can go right to Tucson. It's probably not the best idea to do this glitch in a standard playthrough, as you're skipping this chunk of the game and missing out on the arcade and the first sanctuary. I'm not sure when these barriers will disappear either, so you might not be able to go back to ONETT until you learn teleport, which is learned a lot later in the game. I tried to progress the story by defeating Everdread and then heading back, but the barriers were still there. So unless you want to be cut off from ONETT and skip this part of the story, you could really only use this glitch in speedruns. So there are my top 10 glitches I did in 2019. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and subscribe. I apologize this video came out so late. I've just been pretty busy recently, but I still really wanted to make this. I did some of these glitches a little bit ago, so they might have been patched already, like the Minecraft and Pokemon Sword and Shield one, but I'd have to look more into it. I also want to welcome all my new subscribers from the Sword and Shield video blowing up. The analytics on that video are blowing me away, so seriously thank you guys so much. But for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!